Salutations, this is Grim Devell. Welcome back to our Let's Play of The Longing. We are here in the Mushroom Caves again, and we're gonna try this hallucination thing again. We're gonna take one mushroom at a time. We're gonna plant it. There you go. Plant and then eat. Plant and then eat. That's the way we do it. Come on, grab it. Grab that mushroom. Wait a minute. I just planted two, didn't I? And I didn't eat. Right? Yeah, I messed that up. We're gonna eat two in a row. I don't know what's wrong with me. Eat it. I'm recording this immediately after ending my workday, so hopefully my brain's not too frazzled. Eat that. Delicious. We're going to plant one more, and then we're going to take one up, as we've done before. Grab it. Good, good. Grow. I've eaten two, right? I think so. Okay. Fairly sure. Wow, what's wrong with me? Did I eat two? I think... Wow. I don't even know anymore. Did I'm pretty sure I ate two. We're gonna say I ate two. I ate two in a row, right? Didn't I? Okay. I don't know what's wrong with my brain today. Can't focus, can't think. Go. Go a little shade. Pitter-pat, pitter-pat. I guess I could be doubly safe. I mean, you all just watched me do it. You all are like, yes, of course, Graham, you did this. But playing it, I'm doubting myself. I doubt everything about reality. And my own conscious perception of reality. So, hopefully we've eaten two mushrooms. And we're going to head up and face our nightmare doppelganger once more. And this time, we're going to get as close as we can. We're going to wait till the nightmare doppelganger is in this ones column here for the days. And then we're going to gobble this mushroom up and hallucinate. I don't think I can pick this up while I'm holding a mushroom. No, it doesn't seem like I can. And that's our plan. We don't have any better plans than this. Someone did comment that getting past this nightmare creature might require more gameplay than, or I guess more time dedicated to this than would make sense for a Let's Play. I'm not sure. It was a little cryptic, but I don't know. Hopefully we can do this. If this doesn't work, I'm not sure what we're gonna do. I don't, to be honest, I don't think this is gonna work. Because it didn't work when we saw the eyes on the screen, and I don't think getting closer to it is necessarily going to be what does it. But we'll try it. We'll try it. But if it doesn't work, which, again, I doubt it will. If it doesn't work, I think, again, we might be at a loss. Kind of like how I was feeling right before we figured out the mushroom hint. So I'm not sure what to do about that. And we can pour over those secrets all we want that the face has given us, but... I mean, we could also eat... we could bring up a green mushroom. That's an idea. I would be surprised if that worked. Because all the green mushrooms do is make us sick. They don't seem to have anything to do with delving into darkness or anything like that. In fact, I don't have so it might flash for a second. Yeah. I need to get my notepad up. Yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with delving deep into your own mind and conscious loneliness. Like getting poisoned doesn't make sense to me. But it's something we haven't tried, so if this doesn't work, we might try that. Maybe. Maybe if I eat a whole bunch of green mushrooms in a row and get super sick, maybe something will happen. I think we've have we tried eating 3 in a row? I don't know. I mean, that could be it. That could be the solution. I think if this doesn't work, we'll have to go back and maybe try eating 3 green mushrooms in a row and seeing what happens. And then if something does happen, maybe we pass out or something. I don't know. Maybe then we figure out how many mushrooms it took to do that. Although we've definitely eaten them in the past. I want to say we've eaten 2, possibly 3. And then we try to do that near the nightmare creature. That's all I can think. Pitter pat, little shade, pitter pat. So I know we've talked about music during this series, and I've talked about how much I love folk music and like old timey folk music, folk rock. I don't think I mentioned that one of my first. I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about 2 musicians, well, or 2 groups of musicians that that are not folk music, that influenced my early appreciation of music and helped define me as a young adolescent. And I'm mentioning both of these because they both came up recently. One of them is Billy Joel, and Billy Joel is kind of a guilty pleasure. Like I feel embarrassed that I really like Billy Joel, and listen to him sometimes. But to me, Billy Joel is like he's like the patron saint of the bourgeoisie. Like he's music wise. I don't know. People love him. People love him and his music, and some people just don't understand it and hate it. This came up recently because I'm watching the 2nd season of The Boys on Amazon. And if you know anything about that series, and I've never read the comic, so I don't know if this is also in the comic, but one of the main characters really loves Billy Joel, and in kind of the same way, like it's kind of an embarrassing thing, and he knows that. But it, especially in this season, like Billy Joel songs keep coming up, and it kind of reminded me. The reason I ever got into Billy Joel in the first place, I mean, I think my mom really liked Billy Joel. She grew up in New Jersey. He was a lot more popular in like the greater New York area. And when I was a really little kid, I used to love watching Nickelodeon, which, you all know Nickelodeon. It's still around. We still watch it. I'm actually in the middle of, I'm about halfway through The Legend of Korra right now, which is a Nickelodeon show. But when I was a little kid, just to reveal how old I am, it was pretty much in the early days of Nickelodeon. I found out that before Nickelodeon was a cable show, it was basically based on, or maybe the network itself was called Pinwheel, which was based on one show called Pinwheel. And I remember Pinwheel. I remember watching Pinwheel when I was a little kid. It was kind of a Muppet-esque kid show, with a lot of different cartoons and shorts and stuff like that interspersed. And I loved that show. But Nickelodeon and I go back a long ways. And I remember when Nickelodeon used to have bumpers all the time, just like during commercial breaks, they would have a little commercial bumper for Nickelodeon. And they had sort of a like a barbershop quartet theme, or if that's even the right word, or like I feel like that's not the right word for what they were trying to do with it. not barbershop quartet necessarily, but like an acapella, aesthetic. They had a whole bunch of different bumpers that had all these different variations. And if you watch Nickelodeon, like if you watch Legend of Korra, which was a more recent Nickelodeon show, the bumpers for Nickelodeon, like the intro on Nickelodeon on Netflix, still has that sort of acapella Nickelodeon aesthetic where it's like Nick, and that goes way back to the early 80s. And back then there were all kinds of variations on it. And when I was a little kid, I used to watch those, and they had all kinds of different ones that didn't even have the word Nickelodeon in them. They would just kind of be nonsense words. All right, here we go. And I do want to wait till like the eyes stop moving. Okay. And I asked my mom one day, I was young enough that I didn't really understand what it was that I was hearing and watching. I thought it was just like a song. So I asked my mom, like, hey, Mom, what's this song that's like, and she thought that I was talking about the Billy Joel song For the Longest Time, where Billy Joel kind of does an homage to those a cappella groups of a bebop. Is that the word? Bebop? And so she got me the album, An Innocent Man, which had come out fairly recently at the time on a cassette tape. And I think I was in kindergarten. I was like 5 years old. And I had this cassette, like a Walkman, on the kindergarten playground, listening to this Billy. I was like, okay, I don't think this is what I was thinking, but I like this. The song For the Longest Time, that's the song that was that homage to that like a cappella bebop, if that's the right word. Stuff. All right, we're at the tens place. I think we're close enough. We're gonna eat that mushroom. All right, hallucinating, this is good. All right, the eyes are much closer now. Back before, the eyes were like way over here. So anyway, I don't like all Billy Joel songs, but I went through a pretty serious phase of liking Billy Joel. I don't listen to him a lot anymore, but every once in a while the mood strikes me. The other band that I wanted to mention, which comes up every now and then, and which is I'm not as embarrassed by, but when I was in... All right, that did nothing. That did nothing. Okay. I don't think we have time to go all the way back to get green mushrooms. What can I do? You know what? While we're this close, I think we spend the rest of this episode seeing if, no, I want you to keep looking that way. Just waiting and seeing if Shade falls asleep. We've done this before, but I don't think we've done it before this close. I don't think it's gonna, I mean, we've done this before. But I'm not sure what else to do. We don't have enough time to go back to the mushrooms. I was thinking at the end of this episode that we would go to the Hall of Eternity, the beginning of the Hall of Eternity here. But if we do that, then it means next episode we've got to go all the way to the green mushrooms. You know what? I think we probably have enough time to do that in one episode. I just think we don't have enough time to come here, then go back to the green mushrooms from where we are, and then go back here. But I think from the Hall of Eternity, we might have time to go to the mushroom cave, eat some green mushrooms, and come up here. So I guess I will still do that. And that way, the few days, the rest of this week, time won't be passing, and that'll be probably good. So I guess the rest of this episode, we will just let the Shade hang out here in front of the nightmare, and I'll continue telling you about what I was about to tell you about, which was, so Uh, and I feel like the way I got into this band, I think a few folks, quite a few folks, have the same story. Is that when I was older than the Billy Joel story, but still fairly young, Tiny Toon Adventures came out, and I like Tiny Toons. I watch Tiny Toons all the time, and there was a pretty famous Tiny Toons episode that featured songs by They Might Be Giants, and they did a couple of Tiny Toons music videos to these two They Might Be Giants songs, Istanbul, Not Constantinople, and Particle Man. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I recommend you looking on YouTube or whatever to find that episode. But that got me. I mean, the album that those songs came from were on Flood, which came out in 1990, so it was probably around then. And I didn't really get into They Might Be Giants immediately, but I knew them because of that. And then it was like I was probably a freshman in high school, probably just a handful of years later, that I kind of had a better understanding. That's like around the time, oh, now I'm going out and buying my own albums and stuff like that. Getting that album Flood, getting more albums like Lincoln, the one before it, and starting to get really into them. And then before long, I had every They Might Be Giants album up to that point. I got super into They Might Be Giants, and amazingly, they are still together. They're still making music. Their first album was in 1980. Well, let me think. I think Lincoln was 89, and before that was Lincoln their second album? I want to say so. And then their first album, which was just called They Might Be Giants, I think was probably 87 or something like that. And maybe 88. So they've been together a long time, and it's very impressive. I don't go to a lot of live music events. I tend to just like studio recordings better. Live music events, it's just a whole lot of people, and I don't like being around crowds of people. I never go to parades. I don't go to concerts just because I don't want to be around that kind of crowd. I get a lot of anxiety, right? And then the music just is never as good live as it is when you're just in a quiet place with a good sound system listening to a studio recorded version. And I've never been to a concert that I'm oh, I'm so glad. This is so much better than the recorded album. But my first concert that I ever went to was the They Might Be Giants concert in Nashville, Tennessee. And it was awesome. The venue was 18 or over. And I was, I think, 15 at the time, so my mom had to take me. But it was great. And, it's just a tiny little venue, which doesn't even exist anymore. I think it was called 386. It doesn't exist anymore. Just a tiny little grungy venue. And it was awesome. I had so much fun just jumping up and down and singing all the words to the songs. And I haven't been to a whole lot of concerts in my life, but I've seen They Might Be Giants live, I think 3 times. And they're impressive. They're an impressive group. They're definitely not everyone's cup of tea, but I just thought I'd mention them because I was listening to them at work today. There's still a hope, after high school I went to college, I was oh, they're not cool. I don't want to listen to them anymore. That I started getting into other stuff, more into folk music. And there was a really long time where I just didn't listen to any. So now when I go on Spotify and I see all of They Might Be Giants albums that have come out since the last album I bought in high school was Severe Tire Damage, which I don't think wasn't a great album, but the album before that, Factory Showroom, was really great. And that was it. I used to this was also the early days of the internet, and they used to have a website. And one of the things They Might Be Giants used to do is they had a service called Dial a Song. And I think they still do this, although in some different format. But the way it used to work is they just used to have a phone number that went to their apartment in Brooklyn, and on their answering machine tape, they would just record a new song every week on their answering machine tape, and you would have to dial their number and listen to their answering machine message to listen to their dial-a-song. And when I started getting into them, and they had this website, I'm sure they still have a website, but this was like the early days of the internet. They had a cool interactive website, and you could download the week's dial-a-song in like .wav format, I think. Possibly MP3, but I don't remember. But if it was MP3, this was like the first MP3s I ever owned, and I think they probably were. And I used to listen to the dial-a-song all the time. It was very exciting. And anyway, They Might Be Giants have a special place in my heart, and I thought I'd share that with you today. But it's awesome. Like, there's so many albums that have come out. They're very prolific. So there's so much stuff of theirs that I haven't heard. So when I am in the mood to listen to them, I'm just like, yeah, I can listen to this album I've never even heard before. And they're still making them. Very impressive. John Linnell and John Flansburgh. They Might Be Giants. And Billy Joel. They should collab. So, yeah, nothing new is happening here. This is the same thing as before. I'm going to end the episode by going to the Hall of Eternity. This episode was a little bit of a letdown. But again, I'm not really that surprised. So next time we're going to try the green mushroom, which also I'm not sure if that's actually going to work, but we're going to try it. And yeah, just go. Return. And I dreamed about my death. First I heard a scream, and then I fell from a great height. What? That's new. Oh, I mean, maybe we've seen that before, but that makes me think of the cliff. Should you be going to the cliff? I mean, I guess you woke up. I guess you were dreaming right here, which is interesting. Very interesting. You did dream. You fell asleep there. Huh. All right. Just adds more mystery to this whole thing. So yeah, we're going to go to the Hall of Eternity. Time will stop passing after the few minutes it takes us to get there. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever. And then fell from a great height. That's probably an ending. And then next episode, we'll try the mushroom thing, and if that doesn't work, I am out of ideas. But I don't know. Well, desperation is the mother of creativity, right? I enjoyed playing with you today, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.